YouTube community. I know what you're thinking. I clicked on a video. Don't hit back. Don't hit back because you did not click on the wrong video. You are just slightly confused because you don't know the whole thing that's going on right now. Let me explain to you real quick. Well, I'll make it a short explanation, and long-term explanation comes later. We're here. That explanation, it comes later. But I'm gonna give you the cliff notes on it. Here we go. PhantomUFCfan, HeroCasey. Did you see what just happened there? One more time. Well, let's jump to it. I know fans of the UFC, PhantomUFCfan, they want nothing but just the facts, and that's what you're gonna get today. We're gonna talk about what did we learn from UFC 123 in Detroit. YouTube sensation Antoine Dotson was there, so you can run and tell that, homeboy. First fight of the night on the main card, George Sotiropoulos, G-Sot. Yeah, he needs a nickname bad. Sotiropoulos versus Joe Lozon. J-Lo? Yeah, that's what it is. There we go. So, okay, Joe Lozon started out furious. I mean, I'm a big George Sotiropoulos fan, and I've been pimping out his skills. People are not on the George Sotiropoulos bandwagon for some reason. I always talk to friends in the area, even when he fought Kurt Pellegrino. They didn't believe in him. They were like, he's all right. He's okay. I'm like, are you serious? Because he, like, totally destroyed Joe Stevenson. Like, it wasn't even close. So that's what sold me on George Sotiropoulos. Once he destroyed Joe Stevenson, I knew this guy was legit. Joe Lozon, however, did not care about any of that, and he wanted to punch George Sotiropoulos in his face, and he did it a lot. And I think George was kind of rocked in the beginning round, the opening frame there, until he was able to kind of make a comeback. I think that had to do with Joe Lozon's questionable cardio. I think that maybe the trying to finish early and the excitement of the bout and everything, and when he didn't steamroll him like he did Kake Rudiger, he I think he gassed a little bit, and excuse me, I think I was my eye. There we go. He George Sotiropoulos was not going away, and he was able to work the ground game and get a submission. He did it without the very controversial extra attire that he generally wears. So pretty good win for George Sotiropoulos. They're saying, however, that he's going to fight Dennis Seaver next in Australia, and I like Dennis Seaver a lot. Anyone that throws spinning kicks of any kind and actually does it successfully, you're just gonna, here's my wing, here's you. It's gonna be right under my wing. But not, I thought for sure they were gonna give him like the winner or at least the loser of Evan Dunham and Kenny Florian. I mean, I thought that was just, that just made sense. But I guess not. So, Mr. Wonderful Phil Davis versus Tim Bosch, the Barbarian. I had not seen Phil Davis fight before because he had mostly fought on the preliminary card, and I did not really care enough to spend my time Googling to go find his videos. But I did hear a lot of good stuff about him. So this was my first exposure visually to Mr. Wonderful Phil Davis, and he was, in fact, pretty wonderful. He finished with an awesome submission that's what most people are talking about. Apparently, according to the Bloody Elbow and MMA Nation's Luke Thomas, it is a north-south Kimura, but as did Joe Rogan, it looked like a police retention move. So it was very cool to see and very surprising because Tim Bosch looked so powerful. It looked like he would be able to maneuver out of that, but leverage is very important. Helio Gracie would tell you that. Phil Davis has a big following online now following that performance, and I guess they're probably going to slow track him kind of like they did of John Jones. I want to say that Dana White felt that his striking was not up to par, that his grappling was obviously very, very good, training in Virginia with Master Lloyd Irvin. However, he was very critical of Phil Davis's striking, so we'll have to see how that pans out. So, indeed. I want to say I'm forgetting a fight right now, which is absolutely terrible of me. But oh no, I'm not. I remember now. Gerald Harris versus Mikhail Falco. First of all, Falco looks like someone. Let's just say I was in drive. I'm gonna try to keep the non UFC talk to a minimum. But I just want to explain. If I was in the McDonald's drive-through and Mikhail Falco popped out the window of my hash browns, I would just keep driving. He is so frightening looking. Gerald Harris had a ton of steam behind him. He had done very well on the lower circuit, lower organizational circuit. Had some good wins in the UFC. He beat that dude with that slam and looked really, really good. Mikhail Falco pretty much just shut everything that he did down. Gerald takedowns were ineffective. His striking, except for a very snake-like piston jab, extremely ineffective. Mikhail Falco bombed on him pretty much for 2 rounds, except for the opening round was a little bit slow in the beginning. Second half of that round, bombing. Second round, bombing some more. Third round, dude shuts down completely. That was bizarre. I didn't really care all that much. Like, I obviously would prefer them to fight. But I was just so impressed of him in the previous 2 rounds that, just like Dana White said, I'm going to give him some slack. Mikhail Falco, you're getting some slack on this one. Your first UFC fight. You showed some moments of greatness there. Let's keep that ball rolling. All right? Gerald Harris, back to their preliminary card. Mikhail Falco, hopefully you will continue to get main card exposure. However, if you end up on the preliminary card, we know whose fault it was. BJ Penn versus Matt Hughes. Man, that was a long fight. 21 seconds. That was poor Matt Hughes. Immediately, I knew he was going to get bombed on because, like, it looked like Matt was fighting in slow motion compared to BJ. It was just ridiculous. Once I saw Matt throw a kick, I think I just said, oh my gosh, like to myself. I was like, that was a terrible plan. Should never have happened. That was bad. Matt Hughes, you need to fight Dennis Hallman next, and just call it a career after that. BJ Penn fighting John Fitch. I don't see how that fight will be much different. Well, it could be different than the last George fight because John's striking. What makes George so successful in mixed martial arts is how fluid from striking to grappling he is. He's striking, and it's just a seamless transition into grappling if a takedown and into the groundwork. I wouldn't say John Fitch is quite as good at that particular aspect, although his wrestling is probably much better than George's straight out. Like if they had singlets and, ear guards and everything, that John would beat George. But when it comes to BJ Penn, this fight will either go 2 ways. Either John Fitch will be unable to take BJ Penn down because he is pretty much the prototypical wrestler that BJ Penn made a career out of beating, or he'll prove to be too big and too skilled, and BJ will get destroyed, much like in the George St. Pierre fight. I'm not a big fan of John Fitch based on his fighting style, so I will hope that BJ Penn, maybe he'll beat him in 21 seconds like he did to Matt Hughes. I can't really say. I saw a proposed fight of BJ Penn versus Dan Hardy, and I thought that was a much better fight, and after I'm done here, I'm going to go Twitter Dana White and tell him to do it. Because apparently he listens to people, and if he should be listening to anyone, it should be this guy. So, main event time. It makes me laugh that 2 of the best fighters in the world, one is a karate kid from Brazil, and the other is a street fighter from Memphis. Amazing. That's why I think this is the best sport in the world. I thought Machida won, but I'm also a very big Lyoto Machida fan, so I am willing to take my opinion out of that. You cannot say that Lyoto did not win the 3rd round because he totally destroyed Rampage that round, but the first 2 rounds are very close, and if you counted Rampage's aggression and he was, pushing the fight, then I could see you giving him the first 2 rounds as they were very close. So either way you agree or you disagree with the fight, I think you can concur that it was a good fight, and this shows that Rampage Jackson is not done. He looked so much better in this fight. He hasn't looked this good since he pretty much beat like Dan Henderson. You know, Rampage looked really good. Lyoto looked like a guy coming off a KO loss. He was cautious, more so than normal, and the fact that Lyoto is a perfectionist, where he is going to wait until the most optimal time that he describes as kyo, which is in karate, like the moment where your opponent is defenseless during offense, which we saw in the 3rd round. He waited too long, and that costed him. You know, sometimes you have to make your opportunities and not just wait for them to be presented to you, as this is not like an hour-long Vale Tudo fight with no rounds. Not much you can really say about the fight. There was, you know, Lyoto attempted to use some leg kicks. Rampage charged forward. Rampage used the clinch pretty well. He looked like he was muscling Lyoto around a little bit until he became less fresh. Not saying he gassed or anything, but when he wasn't, you know, he got more, you know, fatigued throughout the fight. It seemed like Lyoto was able to use more technique to balance out the strength and technique advantage of Rampage. And in the 3rd round, Lyoto made a terrible miscalculation by going for an armbar once he mounted Rampage. And if you'd like to see more information about that, the Gracie Academy YouTube account with Henner and Huron Gracie do a great breakdown. They explain some of the mistakes that Lyoto made and how he could have fared better possibly. So that's UFC 123. I enjoyed the card a lot. I hope you did too. Please list, you know, in the comments what you thought about the card, if you liked the main event and the result, and if you enjoyed my time speaking to you through the PhantomUFCfans account. So hopefully you're willing to give me a chance, because I'm willing to give you a chance. And thank you very much. Bye-bye.